This show contains profanity, advice you should never follow, humor that you might not enjoy. The names have been changed to protect the guilty. Do not try this at home.
Holy shit, on this week's episode of the Pox and Puss Podcast, Pox has his work cut out for him as far as editing goes. It's ladies' night on this episode, but you wouldn't guess so judging from the discussion. Tonight we discuss fart baseball, the DivaCup, and Pox goes to an Ani DeFranco show. Greetings, yellow blazers, blue blazers, hiker trash, white trash, Bill Bryson lovers, Bill Bryson haters, I don't know, southbounders, northbounders, flippa-floppers everywhere. Welcome to another episode of the Pox and Puss Show. My name is Pox Holiday, and sitting to my left is
Puss in Boots.
And today we are joined by Miss LOL, a 2011 hiker.
Yay.
And we're going to talk about all kinds of stuff, especially tonight is Ladies' Night.
'Cause it's ladies' night.
Exactly, and we'll be right back. All right, so here we are, Ladies' Night. Pox is outnumbered for the first time. I do have Kool-Aid, my dog, with me somewhere around here, probably eating rat poison, I don't know.
Makes it like 1.5 men.
1.5 men. Well, yeah. No, he's kind of cringes whenever he's around you since you did castrate your own dog.
It's a true story.
It's a true story.
Under medical supervision, there was a vet present.
Meaning you were under the influence of pills?
No, I mean, there was a veterinarian present. The first time my little beagle dog squirted pee on the door frame while looking right at me as if to say, bitch, please. I was like, that's it. You're done. You're done. Pulled pre-anesthetic blood work that day. He got his balls off 24 hours later.
Now you know the balls aren't where they store pee.
Well, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. That's why he keeps doing it.
Oh, man. So close.
Oh, man. So just to kind of talk a little bit of bullshit here. Last week we were supposed to have a guest. It was all lined up and everything was ready to go. After having a week earlier, having a guest kind of fall out on us. And then finally got everything hooked up with somebody else. Ready to go on Saturday, ready to go on Sunday when we normally record. And then I was getting ready to go to lunch at work. And I said, hey, I'm going to go take a break. You know, it's time. I had, some people know that I do commission sales, or did commission sales.
Hey, Pox.
Yeah.
Can I see you in my office for a second?
It was something like that. So I'm going to go do lunch. Well, hey, man, we need to talk. I'm like, is this about me leaving? Like, kinda. And I'm like, is this about me leaving for good? He's like, yeah. I'm like, cool. Let's get this done with then. And I would have had to have been an idiot not to see my layoff coming. And so the Pox Holiday doing commission sales experiment failed. So kind of had a little bit of a life change in there. Hence the two responses of me saying we had a life change as far as Facebook and the last podcast go. But so I did the good American thing. I went and applied for unemployment. And so it just gives me more time to spend with our listeners.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But if anybody in Western North Carolina has a job for Pox, give a shout.
And
tweet me.
Just to reiterate, it wasn't a fail. It was just check that one off the list. Been there, done so.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it wouldn't have failed because it would have been a fail if it was a job that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
And I think
I'm pretty sure since we started recording, you have lamented how much you hate that job every episode.
I'd say of the 3 episodes we did before this one, all 3 of them somehow have mentioned that I did not like my job. Yeah. And now that I'm not there anymore, there's a couple of things I want to say. One,
Fuck you, Rob.
No. Here's some terms I hate. At the end of the day, that one, like, well, when you get down to it, at the end of the day, I'm not a big fan of that one.
Okay.
My boss, every day, used the phrase vice versa.
Every day?
but never in the right context.
When in Rome.
It was like, yeah, or when in Rome. Exactly. Let me circumvent you.
Oh, no. Really?
No. That's from Arrested Development. So that's a Job. Let me circumvent you. No.
Wait,
no.
did he say vice versa or vice versa? Because that would even make it worse.
Yeah.
I think when people say vice versa, I'm like, shut up.
He'd say vice versa, like when there was never another thing that it could do. It'd be like, you're going to fall down the stairs, vice versa. You're like,
I don't think you understand what that phrase means.
no, yeah, and it was just like, and it grades on me that I never actually said, hey man, just want to make sure you know,
You should write him a letter now.
Yeah, well, he is going to be one of my, he is one of my, what do they call him?
12-step people?
He's my sponsor.
Oh, there you go.
He's my sponsor.
There you go.
Hence the reason I have a PBR in my hand.
It's like in, what was
Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
No, what was the Adam Sandler movie where he had the list
of
people that he wanted to Happy Gilmore?
with Steve Buscemi had the list.
Steve Buscemi when
put
he
the lipstick on.
Dooby-doo, dooby-dooby-doo, dooby-doo-doo-wah.
He sat back, put the lipstick on.
Can cross Happy Gilmore off the list of people to kill. Put on some hot red lipstick. Listen to shoo-wah, shoo-way.
So yeah, kind of like that. Mm-hmm. so that's what that was all about. I don't really know where I was going with any of that, but just kind of bringing it up.
You were talking about things that you really couldn't stand about that job.
Well, right. Well, yeah. When that vice versa. Oh, that list could go on.
At the end of the day,
that list could go on and on and on and on and on.
Sure.
But no reason to. We have a guest for the first time in a couple of weeks.
What?
Shooby-doo, wah. But, LOL, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So...
When did you start?
The trail?
Breathing. Yeah. Yeah. When did you start hiking and where?
I started in 2009. It was April 19th down in Georgia. I was a late bloomer as far as everybody else. Started in March. We were the party crowd, I guess.
And if anybody's keeping score at home, that's the second time I've fucked up someone's start date. I said 2011.
Wait, did I say 2000?
I did.
You said 2009.
Oh, then I was thinking about you, then I fucked it up.
Damn.
Just
Let's
kidding.
start this one more time.
So you started in 2011. Sorry, it's all right.
Did I really say 2009?
Yeah, and I was like, man, that is because the last time we had someone on, I said 2009, and he started 2004.
2009 just must be a year.
My favorite part about it was you were like, all right, 2009, and he was like, 2005. And you said, right, 2005. And he said, actually, it was 2004.
That's right. He did. He forgot his,
too. Oh, man. All right.
All right.
So anyway.
2011.
2011, last
March.
year.
What day in March?
No, April.
April. Okay.
19th.
Oh, okay, cool.
I wanted to avoid any of the cold weather.
In the 420 crowd.
That's right.
Yeah, you don't want to start a 420. Yeah.
They never made it up the mountain.
Yeah, no. They're in the parking lot, grilling out and shit.
Yeah.
Good trail magic.
Yeah, of course.
And started northbound, made it to the New York line, and then flipped from there.
Nice.
And then just basically did all of Maine, and then had a big party for about 3.5 weeks, and then came home.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Where'd you have your big party?
I spent 2 weeks in Gorham, and then
Yes.
I met an Israeli couple, and they gave me a ride down to Massachusetts over the course of 2 days. We did wine tastings and ice creameries.
That sounds lovely.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Super awesome.
How'd you get home from there?
One of my friends that I met a couple of years ago, he and his wife were in Maine for vacation, and they just happened to be coming home as I was ready to bail. So I called them up, and I was like, hey, you want to give me a ride? And they were like, yeah.
Where'd you stay in Gorham for 2 weeks? 3 weeks.
White Birches Camping park or whatever.
Oh, that was that lady. I sent a package. I sent a bounce box to White Bridges, and I stayed in a motel instead. And so on my way out of town,
You picked it up.
I stopped by and I said, "Hey there, I'm really sorry. I'm actually not going to stay. I'm just going to get back on trail. Can you go ahead? I've got a label right here. Can I just put this new label for my bounce box on this, and will you put it in the outgoing mail?" And she blew her lid at me, and she was like, and I just, all I could think was like, all right, I know it's the end of hiker season, but you need to chill yourself just a little bit. And I had like a $5 bill in my hand that I was going to give her just to be like, I'm really sorry for the inconvenience. Here's $5. And she was like, that'll be $15. And she was like so mad. And I just was like,
Really?
Yeah, she was really angry. I caught her on a bad day, I think. But anyway, sorry. So you hung out at White Bridges for 2 weeks?
Yeah, I had a better experience than that. They made me margaritas.
Oh, wow. Well, there you
You
go.
fucked up.
Apparently.
And I thought I was badass staying in for 4 or 5 days at one of the fraternity houses back when you could do that. But 2 weeks, that's amazing.
Oh, it was a little bit less than 2 weeks.
Oh,
It was
okay.
rather.
Did you
10
like
days.
rack up a big old tab, or were they just like, you're so cute, we'll just have you stay forever?
I convinced quite a few people to do overnighters. Like, I'd be like, hey, yeah, I've been here 6 days. Come on, stay a night. Take a $0 tomorrow. That they knocked 20% off my tab.
So you were just a pimp.
Yes.
A hostile pimp.
Maybe.
You were a hired gun.
It was too bad they didn't pay me. They just
No.
Nice.
But yeah, it was like 10 days there. It was awesome. Fun times. Walked down to Dunkin' Donuts every day and ate breakfast.
I stayed at a barn. There was a barn in Gorham too that like had the upstairs of the barn was like a hostel.
That was in
I stayed-
town, right?
Yeah, I stayed there one night.
I saw that. They didn't
a
allow
little weird.
dogs.
They
so-
didn't, but we anyway.
Oh, I completely fucked up. I was thinking of Dartmouth. Yeah, Gorham.
Gorham.
Yeah,
Hampshire.
I stayed down at the was it Hiker's Paradise? Was that the hotel?
I have no idea.
There was like a hotel at the other end of town.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, and we were there. I spent that time. I was there. That's I actually had Giardia. I got it in the whites, and they weren't the whites when I was dead. But I actually never made that joke.
That was a good one.
But
I'm a fan.
thank you. I wish I had thought of that one. I don't know, 14 years ago.
You know what? I actually, you told me that story before I ever started my hike, and I remember you were like, "Yeah, I had Giardia," and you told me a story about how you went into a bathroom that was completely stainless steel, that everything inside was stainless steel,
Yeah.
the toilet seat, the walls, the floor, the ceiling,
Lakes of the Clouds.
everything was stainless steel, and you said it was like in the middle of the night and you had to shit. And I can still remember standing in the footwear department of our mutual place of business and you being like, and so I went in and I was convinced that I woke everybody up because all you could hear was
it rattled off everything.
and
Hello, Kool-Aid.
I remember you telling me this story.
Did I make the
and
fart sound for that long?
You did. You made a really long fart noise, and I remembered, like, in my brain thinking,
And footwear?
yeah, I remember in my brain thinking, do not let your eyes get as big as they want to get right now, because all I wanted to do was like get this big-eyed crazy person stare at you because you were just standing there going.
I mean, it rattled the walls. And I
Yeah.
remember, like, people would come in, and I'm just like,
no.
in there just, like, holding it. Like, God, don't do it while someone's in here. Because it was one of those where, it was towards the end of the season, and so Lakes of the Clouds was at capacity. And like, there was nothing else to do in there. Like, there was just, like, it was nasty outside, and so everybody's packed in the place. And I had been, like, getting there, I had been shitting for, like, a day and a half getting there. And so getting there, I was just like, okay. And it was like they put us in we didn't have to go downstairs to the dungeon, but we were in that auxiliary Thru-Hiker. There's no more room for you here. And so, but the thing is that you have to go through the kitchen area and around and get into that little bathroom. Meanwhile, that little bathroom faces all like 3 or 4 of the sleeping chambers. And it was just like, so what I would do is I would try and put as much of my body like over the seat to like conceal the sound.
Make a vacuum.
Yeah, like put my legs together and my hands on my sides and just like, and it would just like to try and just make that little sound in there. But it did not help. Did not help at all.
That's the story that I took away from when I was like doing my research and talking to everybody that had hiked the trail that I knew, and I went to you and I was like, tell me your story, and you were like, let me tell you about a little time. Let me tell you about a magical place where everything's made out of stainless steel and the shit rattles the walls.
I thought that was one of the worst nights, but then the next day going over to, was it Madison Hut? Whatever, goes over the next, it was like, I think it's Madison Hut. I was just like, I told the people there, I'm like, look, let me just sleep. They have like a big, huge stone fireplace. I'm like, please just let me sleep here because I'm going to get up to go to the bathroom like a dozen times. Like, I am very sick. We are hiking into Gorham tomorrow. Like, I need to go to the hospital, but I'm not going to do that. And they're like, sorry, policy is, I'm like, here's the thing. You got to understand. And so sure enough, that's the place where there's like 4 bunks. And, like, of course, they put all the hikers on the top. And there's only, like, 3 or 4 of us there. And, like, I got up and down all night. And I remember, like, the, 8th time I went down, this guy, it's like, I'm climbing the ladder down past me. He's like, and I was like, look, dude, I'm fucking sick. This is gonna happen all night. I tried to plead my case to this guy at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, I tried to let them tell me to sleep down there, but they won't let me sleep down there. So I wound up actually just sleeping in front of that thing, and they came out like, what are you doing? I'm like, I told you I was sick. Like, I was pissing everybody off. Sorry. It was either that or I was gonna shit in the bed. And they're like, okay, well. I'm like, it's done now. Like, what are you gonna do? Tell me to leave?
Yeah.
Fucking leaving. Yeah. And I did go to the hospital when we got to Gorham. Wow, that was not the story I was planning on telling.
It's a doozy.
So we're going to talk about lady-wise.
Lady-wise? What do you want to talk about lady-wise?
I don't know, what was it like being a lady on the trail? It seemed like from a guy's perspective, they would just be like, you were the sun, and there was a revolving men around you, just being nice. Now, like, for me, I had a girlfriend while I was out there, and his name, no. No, like, I had a girlfriend when I left. I did not have a girlfriend when I finished. That's a story for another time. But, so, like, I wasn't as concerned with it, with, like, the, like, hey, I'm a guy, you're a girl, hey, how's it going, kind of thing. I wasn't really worried about that, but it just seemed like you would just see these guys just kind of glob on to women when they went. Like, is that what happens?
It's a true story.
It is.
Yeah.
Good. Well, good night, folks. No, I'm just kidding.
My family, specifically my mom, like, because I think I started out the trail with this, like, doe-eyed, teenage-y kind of, I was 25, but, like, I still was like, I'm bringing you to all of this. By the time I was done, I think I was a little bit more hardened, but, I'd call my mom and be like, I met this really nice hiker boy. And after, like, the 3rd one of these really nice hiker boys, my mom started calling my hike... Ooh, shit. My mom started calling my hike Puss in Boots' Trail of Destruction.
Would these little hiker boys last a state each?
Yeah, these poor hiker boys.
This guy didn't get out of Georgia.
I think
14 of them later.
There was one that started in Franklin and ended in
NOC.
Beyond the NOC. Where it started in Franklin, ended in
Hot Springs?
Charles Bunyan. I broke up with him on Charles Bunyan. That was it.
I like how you called it Charles, too.
Yeah. Wait, what is it? Charlie's Bunyan.
He prefers Charles Bunyan.
Charles's Bunyan. And then immediately thereafter, I met somebody just out of the Smokies at Bear's Den.
No,
Right outside of
Standing Bear.
Standing Bear, thank you.
Yeah.
At Standing Bear. And he made it all the way to Harrisburg.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yep. And so we parted ways in Harrisburg. And then there was another one that I met in...
So did you ever see these guys again after you broke up with them?
that was really weird.
Ooh, that's awkward.
But there was a guy that I had met earlier on, and he had hit on me, and I was like, you fucking douchebag, like, back
Creeper.
off. And then I met him again in Maine, and somehow or another he was cuter in Maine. So
That never happened.
Trail goggles.
I know. It was weird. Yep. Puss in Boots' Trail of Destruction.
Did you guys ever feel like in danger because you're a woman, you think?
Once.
Once.
And I can, like, name the time. In, I think it was Troutdale, Virginia. There's a church that has a double wide right behind it that hikers are allowed to stay in. And it's like, you know, it's basically self-serve. Like, you clean your shit, you stay there if you want. Mm-hmm. There's no food, there's nothing, you know, there's like a hose. And
does someone live in that trailer?
No.
Okay.
No. It's a trailer that's divided into 2 rooms, and that's it. Like, it is 2 rooms. There's like 4 bunk beds in each room, and that's all that's there. And when I got there, I was planning on staying the night there, and the church had a shower that you could use. But when I got there, there were like 3 or 4 guys that were there when I got there, and they were in like street clothes, but they were claiming to be hikers. And I was sort of like, meh.
Yeah.
I don't really... Okay. And at this time, I was hiking with guy number 2. And so the 2 of us were there together. And, you know, not long after we got there, one of the other guys that was in street clothes showed up with, like, cases of beer and was just like, we're good. And, like, there was, you know, you're at a church, like, volunteered space.
Yeah.
There's signs all over that say no alcohol. And they show up with, like, cases of beer. And I just it was the only time that I was ever like, it's a free bed, but I'd rather pack it up and get going. And so, like...
But you were with another guy, though,
I was with another guy. And the 2 of us sort of looked at each other and we were like, man, let's move on from here. And so, we had all of our stuff all laid out and we were all planning on staying there the night, and we packed up all our stuff and left.
See, I never felt like there was any danger just because I was a girl. Maybe because I was hiking alone.
Sure.
There were a couple of times where I was hiking alone and, like, halfway up a mountain you run into 2 guys that are in jeans, and which is an automatic giveaway that you're just a day hiker. But specifically because I was a girl, I didn't feel danger.
Maybe I phrased that bad, or just like, you ever felt like you're in a bad position where... Yeah, I guess...
There were actually, like, down south, because you mentioned, like, the flock of guys around you and stuff.
Yeah.
We were at, there was a creeper that we all cowboy camped at, what's the really nice shelter right before you hit the Smokies? The Fontana Hilton.
Yeah.
So there was a creeper there that was kind of hitting on all the girls, and the group of guys, that I was hiking with, there were 5 of us, and like 3 of them were ex-military. Like the guys who signed up right out of high school and were just finishing up their 4 years of service. And they just looked at me and they were like, LOL, don't you worry, we got whatever,
Yeah.
like we're big brother kind of stuff. So that kind of helped because, all the guys that do kind of follow you kind of look out for you.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
I that was the other experience I had, was seeing, women around y'all's ages, and then, like, either with married guys that were, like, doing the looking out kind of thing. Right. Or the other thing I saw a lot of was, like, maybe a borderline elderly person and a younger lady hiking. And not anything going on, but just more like, hey, I'll look out after you, you look out after me.
Yeah.
We're just kind of like one guy that I can think of like that. And not that he needed anyone to look out for him, but Model T, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him, but he's written a couple books.
Yeah.
He hiked in 98 as well. And there was a young lady that they seemed like they hiked most of the trail together, and then like some other kind of guy globbed on with them. But yeah, I saw that a lot. It seemed like that was kind of another dynamic with women hiking.
When I was on trail, there was an older gentleman that's local to us, Braid, and he was super nice guy, and he's probably, I'm gonna guess he's in his mid-60s. That's just
Judging from the YouTube video, I'd say, yeah.
Shot in the dark, mid-60s, and we actually didn't meet until Maine, but when he and I were talking, he said, in the beginning, I don't know, he and I hit it off, but he was saying, like, beginning of the trail, I don't know, like, there were all these girls, like, your age that were just, like, hanging out with me, and I kept thinking, like, I still got it, and blah, 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 and he was like, it wasn't until, like, Maryland that I realized that I was just, like, safe. Like, if these girls were, like, hanging out with me, it was just because, like,
they wanted to make sure you didn't fall and break a hip.
It was more like he was just sort of like, people probably weren't going to mess with you too much if you were with the old guys, so there's that.
I've been told, or I've read, or, something like, because, you do all the forum reading before you get on the trail.
Sure.
And somebody said at one point that every guy on the trail, if they're with you, they want to be both at the same time your boyfriend and then your brother/father. Like, there's that father figure or brother figure. But they also kind of want to be like, hey, what's up? So even if there's like a 30-year difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, even that, I had a lot of experiences where, I would get to a road crossing. I don't know if it was like this for every other guy, but for me, like, I'd be hiking along and I'd get to a road crossing and there would be a couple of hiking buddies, like, there waiting for me so that, like, we could all cross the road together. Like, which I thought was always, like, kind of pretty polite. Like,
yeah, that's cute.
It was just sort of this, like, we just want to make sure that, we've seen you here and we know that you got to cross this road okay. Once we get to the other side, we'll go our separate ways, but I just want to, it was just that, that feeling of, like, looking out for, and all they could really see was, like, naked shoulders and up, but just, like, from the back.
Oh, geez.
That's all a guy needs
That's
on the trail.
They don't even need
bank.
that.
Yeah, the old wink wink. But I just, like...
Gonna be tenting tonight.
I had never heard that phrase until I met my friends from the UK that I met on the trail. And I think there was, like, one time that I walked out of a shower with, like, a hand towel on, like, because that was all the shelter had, or all the hostel had. I had, like, this hand towel, like, around me. And I walked in and I walked by and the Irishman just goes, put that one in the wink bank. Oh, man. Oh, boy.
See, that's the difference between us and the Irish people. We call it the spank bank over here.
It's the wank bank. Good God.
Oh, you'll have to excuse me. I've never heard either one of these.
Very nice. Well, maybe on the spank bank, we'll take a break.
Was that still open when you were in Maine?
I heard about it. There was actually talk of a police raid. But
that'd be real bad.
I actually have the number to the hostel somewhere because somebody had given it to me. It was still open as far as I know. I never called the guy though.
Yeah. I've heard stories.
What was his deal? Because I heard he was pretty sketch.
I stayed there for 3 days for free.
Well,
he had a hot tub. He needed it for his injury, but it was conveniently like a 15-person hot tub.
Yeah.
That cool. If you wanted to come in the hot tub, you had to be naked because clothing was dirty. You had to take a shower before you got in the hot tub, and you had to be naked to get in the hot tub. This did not slow anybody down. And I just happened to not give a fuck. So, fully disclosed, like, blissful hippiedom. It was a great stay. I had a wonderful time there. It was all good. Like, I didn't really care.
Right.
It was fine.
Wait, that hostel's in...
Yeah.
Damn it, why didn't I stay there? I stayed at a hotel.
It was a good time. So I pretty much, like, at that point I was hiking, I had a sarong with me, so I, like, wore a sarong around my waist the whole time, but that was it, and I stayed there for 3... We rode 4-wheelers, we did all this shit, and I never had a top on, like, the entire time.
How did you ever make it home? You dear little girl.
I have no idea.
Like, I sometimes hear her stories, and I'm like, did we hike the same trail?
Was this?
Because I think I hiked, like, basically, like, the Trail of Tears. Or like it was me and a bunch of Quakers.
It was not until I had friends that finished the trail, like, a month after me. Mm-hmm. We crossed paths in Gorham. And so, like, I kept going south, and they kept going north.
Right.
And, my buddy Gorgonzola, he texted me when he finished, and he was just like, dude, what the fuck happened? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, and I was still kind of like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? What happened? What are you talking about? And he was just like, there are legends about your tits for hundreds of miles after, like, what did you do? And I was like, I have nice boobs, I don't know. And that's enough of that.
Wow.
It's hilarious.
Keep looking over at my notes going like, I can't follow any of this with my notes.
I got nothing.
Did you ever hear a grouse?
I was a junior in high school. I went to Winston-Salem at Ziggy's when Ziggy's was still open.
Yeah.
And I saw Tenacious D.
Really?
Like, before, like, when they were barely even Tenacious D.
Like, just the two of them?
Yeah.
Just, wow.
Yeah. And there was a guy in a Spider-Man costume that was, like, climbing around in the rafters, because I don't know if you ever, like, the holds that, like, Spider-Man doesn't look right. He looks like cheap-ass Spidey wearing the Nike shoes. I went, and I was, like, no kidding, junior in high school. Jack Black pulled his pants down and, like, showed everybody his asshole.
Like bent over?
Like, full-on red eye, like...
Spread cheek.
No. Yeah, like, he was for real, and we both just, like, looked at each other like, maybe this was a bad idea, I don't know. And we went outside after the concert to wait for his mom to pick us up, like, in her little, like, white Chrysler.
Had to go back to the Chrysler after seeing red asshole.
So we were sitting on the side of the curb, like, trying really hard to look slightly older than we were, which was, 16? like...
Which meant you picked up a half-lit cigarette off the ground or something. It was
right.
I'll be look cool.
We're sitting there, and this guy comes over and sits down, and he's just like, hey, how you girls doing? And we're like, oh, we're gonna get raped.
Here it comes.
And he says, I've got a hotel and a lot of coke. And we both were like, Mom! Mom, where are you? And that was...
God, I had that same thing happen to me. I was older. I was probably 22. I was probably like 23 or 24 years old. And I was at a Ani DeFranco concert.
What?
With two of my lesbian friends.
Did you just say that?
Well, one of my lesbian friends and her girlfriend who did not like me at all.
The little plastic castle is a prize every time.
Yeah, well, I love Fire Door. It's a great song. Fire Door is a great song. I think that's the song that I knew by Ani DeFranco. And it was like, yeah, I'll go. Sure thing, you know. And I had just broken up with my girlfriend probably like a week or so prior to that. So
it was really moving for you.
Yeah. I mean, I was in tears. Cry? I was in tears. Yeah. I was like, wait, I thought this was Tori Amos. No. But yeah, no, I was standing there, and this just gigantic woman sidled up next to me, and and I was like, and I could tell, I was like looking at I was having a good time at the show. She puts on a hell of a show. Mm-hmm. It was a really tiny venue, and this woman comes up next to me, and I can tell she's, like, focusing her attention on me. And I'm just kind of standing there, just, like, really getting into this Ani show, just because I don't want to look to my right. And it kind of ends, and the girl's like, hey, how'd you like to go back to my hotel room?
Was she like, hey, I have a hotel room? Or was she like, hey, I have a hotel room?
Hey. It was kind of in between. And she's like, hey, how'd you like to come back to my hotel room and do a bunch of drugs and just fool around? And I was like...
You've got really feminine features, so that'll make my transition a lot easier.
Yeah. And I was standing there with, like, a beer in my hand, and I said, I'm sorry. Like, I'm the DD. See, now, when I went through Rangeley, there was, and I know I've mentioned this before, there was a hostel, and I remember, now this was years before, I mean, this would have been 11 years before, and there was a hostel with a guy who had a peg leg, and he drank this stuff out of a Mountain Dew bottle that was like pinkish whitish.
Now there was a place this past year that, I don't know the name of it, but everybody I met was slack packing, and that was an actual legit hostel.
Like right on the main street right there?
Yeah, because we crossed that road in this big ass lightning storm, and like everybody I was hiking with was going to that hostel, and I asked them like, you know, hey, do you have an extra spot? Because I didn't have any cell phone reception, and they were like, no, we're full. And
Ugh.
like, I mean, this was like,
Pine Ellis in Andover, Man, was where I stayed the first night.
yeah, that's it.
That was the guy with the moose poop jewelry.
Yeah. Yeah, and
All I can think of is boot scoot boogie. It sounds like moose poop jewelry.
but yeah, so that place is still there.
Yeah, that was weird.
He slacks everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it, but
I'm surprised that guy's still alive if it's him.
oh yeah, because he
He had a wooden peg leg.
I never saw his leg. He was in a van that he wouldn't let me in.
They let us get in the back of the he had a pickup truck that took us to wherever the closest town was, a little teeny tiny town. Mm-hmm. And I remember like my buddy and I are sitting in the back of the truck, and there's like a bunch of other shit back there, and then there were like 2 girls and some guy in the front sitting up front with this guy, and all of a sudden like we are just like wham, like slammed up against the cab of the truck, like bam, he comes to a complete stop. I'm like fuck, like hit our heads, like geez, like beat up. And he gets out and he's like, look up there, it's a moose. And he's like showing us this moose, and it's like, yeah, I've seen it. It's like fucking seeing a deer in the Shenandoahs.
Now I'm seeing 2 of them because I have a
everywhere.
concussion.
And then he like drives up like a mile later to where like the dump is, like where you go take your trash. There's like 4 or 5 dumpsters, and there are like 15 fucking moose hanging out. And he's like, yeah, get out and check them out. Like we're like, oh, and it's like they're just like fucking rats. Like they're just like big ass rats that are just like they're just waiting for you to leave so they can
Eat your stuff.
Yeah, and so like he's like, yeah, you just come up here. It would literally like be going to the dump and going like, check out the rats. Like the moose are just hanging around there, and like he's like, yeah, check it out. And we're about like 20, 30 feet from the truck, and it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. And then they all just start like, it's like slowly walking towards us. He's like, all right, everybody back in the truck. And he's like, no, they'll come after you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, fucking why didn't you tell us this shit? Like everything he did was like 10 seconds late. It was like, hey man, you're still going to take a slack packing tomorrow. Remind me in the morning. Like, just write it the fuck down. Get a whiteboard, like something. Like write down what you're doing. Like
Put it on your hand.
yeah, and it was like we're standing on the front porch, like, hey man, you're gonna take a slack packing today, right? Am I? And it's like and like I finally lost it. I'm like, this is the 10th time in the past 24 hours.
You're gonna come pick us up, right?
Like yeah, and like that was it. It was like, you know, we were like, well, we knew. We were like, well, as soon as we get to this spot, it was like 2 miles of a walk down, you know, from the trail to Rangeley. And I'm like, well, we're gonna be walking in. Like, oh well, fuck it, we're just adding 2 more miles to our day. Sure enough, like we were only a quarter mile into it, and he's like, why'd you guys start walking? It's like, because you haven't been reliable on anything else. Like I just said it. I was like, because you haven't been reliable about anything else, dude. Like, what the hell? It could be a different guy than who was there last year, but because I don't see how this guy would have lived another 15 years.
Oh, this was an old guy?
Yeah. He had a wooden peg leg.
That's true.
He was all white. He had like a fake eye. Like he looked like a pirate who had gone too far inland. What are some other lady stuff? I don't know lady stuff.
I'm gonna go ahead and plug, along with Slim Jims and Flex Seal Bright, the DivaCup.
Oh.
Fucking saved my life on the trail.
Really?
I
You used it?
I started using it like
I read a review of that the other day. It was hilarious.
Miss Janet.
Miss Janet. Love that lady.
No, I started using it like a year before the trail, and I still use it. Like, I think it's fantastic. That thing saved my life. It was the best. Except for one time.
Is the review accurate?
No.
Okay.
No, it was easy to use. I bought my first DivaCup on my way to Johnny Swank's house.
Right.
To hang out with his wife.
Yeah.
And I didn't have anything else with me. And I was just like, well, this is either going to work or it isn't. And it worked. It was totally fine. The DivaCup is basically a silicone shot glass.
Yeah.
You can like break it down, stick it up your hoo-ha, let go, and it kind of springs back, and it basically just catches all your blood, and then you pull it out, and you just empty it out. And
yeah,
you can wash it with water.
His face says, "I've got it. I got it."
Yeah,
Really.
yeah. No, I remember now.
You wash it with water that you feel comfortable bathing in, so it's
Right.
not like it's got to be like super sterile. You want to
Use
like
rubbing alcohol.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there were actually times where I was like, I don't feel comfortable bathing in this water, so like I would wash it, and that was that. You boil it. You can boil it. You can do a lot of stuff with it.
You can boil it. You can fry it.
Put it in your cook pot and use it later.
Totally been there, done that.
Remind us to never
Totally been there,
share
done that.
utensils.
No, you boil the DivaCup. It's a piece of silicone. It is surgical grade silicone. That's all it is. Just the fact that it happens to spend 1 week out of every 4 up your Jews, like.
Spoken like a true doula.
No, but so that's all you do. And my ex-boyfriend used to get really mad because I would boil mine. It's silicone. So it's clean when it goes in the boiling water, and then you just boil it to sterilize it. But I would use the water to make tea afterwards.
Oh no!
It's clean. It's boiled, clean, sterile water.
Have you ever washed something with cold water and it hadn't gotten completely clean, and then you put hot water on it and it really does the job?
Well, you wash it with
That's
clean.
kind of
I'd
what
wash
this
it.
is,
I would. I'm not saying. I know that if you squirt antibacterial lotion on a turd, it does not make it clean. I get that. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying, like, you wash that sucker with hot water and antibacterial soap, and then you put it in hot water, and you boil it for 20 minutes.
and then you throw the water away.
It's perfectly good hot water. Why would I do that? Clearly, my theory is lost on both of you, so we'll move right along. But anyway, the DivaCup is like the best invention ever. It's fantastic. Fuck you guys. Screw you guys. I'm going home.
Taking my DivaCup and going home.
But
Wow.
one time, my DivaCup accidentally was thrown away with some paper towels while I was on trail. And I had to, like, call... My mom thinks that the idea of the DivaCup is, like, the grossest thing that she's ever heard because, like...
Because it is.
Her generation does not deal with
Right.
with that. I mean, they just don't. And so, like, to call her and be like, I need you to go to Whole Foods, buy me a new DivaCup in the size A, which is for the under 30 under 30 and has not had
The non-baby having.
the maidens.
the intact.
Clearly, this was before Maine.
That was a good one. I'm not gonna lie.
Boom!
Anyway. No, the DivaCup was the shit. And then the other thing, I kept trying the whole time that I was on trail to get sponsored by Skirt Sport, which is a athletic skirt company. And I started the trail in one of their running skirts. And it's just a skirt. There's nothing underneath it. It's just a skirt. It's really quick drying. And I loved it because I could, like, change whatever I had underneath it and, like, be relatively discreet. And it dried quickly. And it was just,
How long was it?
It was like,
Okay.
mid-thigh.
Okay.
It was, it was a shorter running skirt, but it was perfect. And I loved that thing. And I kept sending Skirt Sport pictures of me, like, at summits, like, in their skirt. And I'm like, check this thing out. It's doing great. Send me some shit. what?
Yeah.
So, like, I kept trying to get them, and I remember being at the NOC, and there was this girl that was also hiking, and she was just like, you know you look awesome. And I was like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. And she was like, you're in your short skirt and your knee-high gaiters, just working it. Like, you don't even need to wear those gaiters, but I know you're not going to take them off for the rest of your hike. And she's right. I didn't take them off for the rest of my hike. I wore those things the rest of the time because it was like, it just became my uniform. But yeah, that hiking skirt was awesome. I'm trying to think of anything else that was like girl specific that I had gear wise. And I think that's pretty much it. Like, I came equipped with a DivaCup and a hiking skirt. And I was good to go.
all I'd wear.
Half the guys on the trail had a hiking skirt.
That's true. There was a rash of kilts while I was on trail. I think that's pretty standard. I know that Mount Rogers Outfitters in
Damascus.
Well, in Hot Springs,
Bluff Mountain.
Thank you. Bluff Mountain Outfitters. They make a killing because they carry a lot of hiking kilts, and like so that's right about when people get there and it's hot, and they're like, I got to get out of these, Mountain Hardwear pants that I thought the zip offs were going to be really cool, and instead, my balls are sticking to my leg. I got to get something else. So, they try out a kilt. It's always popular.
I was never a fan of the mesh in the short, like that. Yeah. That didn't do anything. Like, honestly, the first thing I did was grab the crotch of the mesh and then scissors.
Oh, really?
That it's not as cool as you'd think it would be.
I remember this summer, Old Navy boys bathing suits like had the mesh insert, and apparently the gauge of the mesh was off. And little boy parts were getting stuck in the gauge, and like there were like a bunch of people that had to bring their kids to the emergency rooms because they're
like the mesh was too wide.
Like the gauge was too wide, and they'd get their little head stuck through, and then it would swell, and it'd be stuck in there, and it was like it's like a turtle with its head stuck through a 6-pack ring. Like, what do you do? So they'd have to. But I remember, like, I was listening to a radio show, and there were like all these moms calling in. They were like, "Oh my god, that happened to my 2-year-old. That happened to my 4-year-old." And so, like, and I think, like, one time I went to Old Navy, and there was, like, a big thing on the wall that was like, if you buy our bathing suits, cut out the lining.
They had an actual, like a little chart where it was like, if your baby's dick is this...
if your wing diameter is...
It's... The heat of your meat is directly the angle of the dangle.
Oh, boy.
So, one thing that I know, because my wife she enjoys backpacking, and she and I both worked at a place out in western United States that did, it's the largest organized backpacking facility in the world. And so we take people out for days at a time, anywhere from 4 to 21 days. And my wife, right now she pales in comparison to Puss, but she does take it to 11 in most cases. My wife, she's balls to the wall in most everything she does. And what we like to call, she broke many a young boy's fart cherry. By, like the average age of kids we were taking out were anywhere from 14 to 20. And she taught a lot of them how to play fart baseball. Are you familiar with fart baseball?
I am not.
You fart once, you're on first. All right? The next person, it's up to them. You break your group into 2 teams. One person farts, they get on first.
Have you played this?
Oh, yeah.
And then if another person...
With Pox's wife, many times.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Fart again, you get on the second. And then if you get to... So the goal is to like be able to have enough control to be able to like... to get home. But, but if somebody on your other team farts, you're out. All right, so it's like you're up, you're down. The biggest problem is there's a big controversy in fart baseball on the chart. If someone should poop their pants. All right.
For a home run.
See, that's the thing. They call it a grand slam. But you know what? We're playing fart baseball. We're not playing shit your pants baseball in my world. So personally, I think you shit your pants, boom, end of the inning. Like, I don't care if you're the first person up, you shit yourself, boom, you're out.
See, I don't know, because if you crap your pants, you have to sit in it the rest of the night. And I kind of think that's home run worthy.
Yeah, I don't know. But we're not playing shit your pants baseball. We're playing fart baseball.
Well, yeah, but you should run the bases. You don't necessarily have to do a sliding into home. You know what I mean? Like in real baseball.
When you slide into first and you feel a tiny burst, diarrhea. So that's where the controversy goes. We'll have to go to the judges for that one. I think it's an American League versus National League rule, and either you got a designated hitter or you don't. But so she taught lots of these dudes how to play fart baseball. And I mean, the 14-year-old kid that maybe doesn't have a sister or something like that, they hear a 20-something-year-old girl fart for the first time. That blew their minds. Did you guys ever have that?
Ultimate aphrodisiac.
Like how was farting around? Yeah, it is. Yeah, for a 14-year-old.
This is off topic.
No, it's not.
It is.
Everything you've said has been off topic.
The first time that your wife and I ever went backpacking together, it was the swirl and hurl portion of dinner where everybody had finished, but you're just trying to like clean up your bowl and clean up your plate without like
the human sump.
You're trying really hard to be as leave no trace as possible, and your wife had a clear like plexiglass bowl. That instead of swirling and hurling, she decided that she was going to lick clean.
Yeah.
So she is like licking this thing hard. and you know, I think winks were involved. Like she was like playing it up. Like she would it's like when you eat a banana and make eye contact with somebody. She was like licking this bowl and like, oh yeah, like looking at you. So somebody, and I don't know who it was, made a comment about like, dang girl, go to town. And she, without missing a beat, was just like, this is how I licked your mother last night. And like, just all right, we went there.
Yep. Takes this one to 11.
Yep. Yeah, I think your wife might have taught me how to take it to an 11.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
She's a special girl.
So we were talking about farts.
I'm really sorry.
No. I just remembered where this went. So you had something well, I guess my wife licking a bowl.
Yep. Pretending it was my mother's snatch.
LOL, did you fart on the trail? Never.
Yes, but not... I can't remember.
Not like a, hey guys, watch this.
Yeah. There was always the joke, though. I think because, like, well, to the best of my knowledge, I was never, like... It was never one of those things where I was like, oh crap, they might have heard that. Like, so... In my mind, I was never embarrassed enough on the trail that I think that they might have heard it. So I think that there was this... They would always joke about it because it never happened. They were like, oh, geez, LOL. Fart. Like, yeah, like, why don't you quit farting? Like, don't hike behind LOL. Like, but I don't think that anybody ever heard it. But yeah.
My wife would probably call all, like, shh.
Yeah.
Like that's the way, yeah.
Everybody, wait, do you hear that?
Or like the Shaun of the Dead, showing I'm sorry. No, it's okay. No, I'm sorry.
Oh! There was this time though in the Smokies that because I was hiking with all those guys. Well, every other person on the trail. But there was this point in the Smokies where, like, you know, you get the day hikers, or not the day hikers, I guess, but the overnighters.
Weekenders.
And like yeah, the weekenders. And, like, the families and stuff like that. And you have these just, like, brutal thru-hikers that are coming through. And there, by, you know, the Smokies, you're completely okay with everything that might happen. And so it was, we were all jammed packed into the shelter. And, you know, it's after dark, but we're still talking about the things that, you know, have happened throughout the day. And, you know, a guy farts and everybody starts laughing about it. And it's like so dark. And you have somebody farting 3 people over up top, and then somebody farting 2 people over down below, and like everybody's just, it's still funny. And that was the phrase from down south, is somebody would fart and you would say it's still funny.
Yeah.
Because it is. Somebody can fart in the middle of the night and it's hilarious. It will rattle the shelter and everybody will laugh about it. But I felt bad for all the families because,
Yeah, you're like, hey,
They're
look, you're with the wildlife now. It's like the bean scene in Blazing Saddles.
There was somewhere in southern Maine, and this was like one of the only times that I had like some serious stomach upset. But it was like the middle of the night. I'm usually like, I'm a good sleeper. Like as soon as I'm out until I wake up in the morning, and not very much can wake me up. But I went to sleep. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I remember like in the midst of waking up being like, I've got a teeny tiny little fart that I gotta let go, and it just was like, it was like nothing. It was no fart at all. But when I rolled over, the smell from the fart came out of my sleeping bag, and when it did, I was just like, oh, that's not right. There's something very wrong about that fart. And it was like, in that rolling over, I could feel like my whole stomach go like, bloop, 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 bloop. And I was like, oh no. Shit. And I like started to unzip my bag. I'm like looking for my Crocs and my headlamp.
I thought you were because they were looking for the turd.
No, but I'm looking for every piece of equipment that is necessary for me to get to the outhouse on time. And I start walking, and it was like one of those shelters in Maine where the outhouse was further away than average. Like, and it was kind of like you had to look for it.
Yeah.
And luckily, I had been there before it was dark out, and so I like had an idea of where I was going, but it was just sort of like I got halfway there, and I was just like, nope, not gonna make it. And I turned around and like in the same motion of like turning around and pulling my pants down at the same time, and I remember shitting this like projectile shit and like this fart that I just remembered thinking like there's no way I didn't just wake up the whole shelter, like, because it was just this like like and there was no way, like I just remembered like I was crouched on like just off the trail, like shitting and just being like, there is nothing I can do right now except exactly what I'm doing. And I was positive like I was gonna get back to the shelter and everybody was gonna be sitting up in their sleeping bags like, dude, are you okay?
Are you okay?
Everything come out all right?
What in the world? And I remember like I think I even like I turned my headlamp around and I was like, there's no recovery for that. Like, I don't even, you can't even dig a hole for that. It's everywhere. So I got everything as cleaned up as I possibly could get. And I start walking back to the shelter, and as I'm stepping away from this like destruction zone, and I realize that I am like 7 steps from a tent. Like, and it was this girl. I was so close to this girl's tent. And it was this really annoying girl that
Which makes it even better.
I didn't even really know her. And as soon as I realized that, I was like, I probably sprayed her tent. Like, there was probably fecal matter on her tent.
Real quick. So you have shit on a Southbounders tent, and you have thrown miso soup. You have sprayed miso soup on a Southbounders clothes.
I do not. I love Southbounders. I was a Southbounder for like, a third of my hike. It's not y'all's fault. anyway.
Oh man, actually, one of the people that follows us on Twitter, that was their favorite moment of anything we've done, was when you sprayed the miso soup,
sobo.
the miso sobo.
Oh no!
Accident again.
Leave out that part where I sprayed her tin.
No, don't.
No.
Did you ever run into some girls that you just wanted to like push off a mountain?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
There were two sisters while I was on the trail, and they were, I don't mean this, like, as a brunette, I am not profiling, but they were very blonde, and they were very...
Blonde brunettes or actual blondes?
They were actually blondes.
Oh, okay.
They were very blonde. And they were very proud of the fact they were blonde.
Ugh,
and
those are the worst.
And they were... and they were on the trail, and I remember, like, all of their stuff, every piece of gear that they had was, like...
Pink?
It was very deluxe.
Oh.
Like, you know, like, they had... I have a Gregory Diva, and I love it, but, like, they had their Gregory Divas, and, like, everything was, like, the fluffiest version of whatever piece of gear you could buy.
Right.
And, but they were these two girls, and they were relatively... you know, if they ever listen, I don't want them to feel like I'm hating on them, but I remember...
But I am.
But I remember when they got their trail names, because that's when I met them. I met them, like, the day after they got their trail names, and I was like, oh, hey, I'm Puss in Boots. What's your name? And they were like, we really hate our trail names. Like, that was what they started with, and I was like, well, then change it. And they just were like, well, it's sort of stuck now. And I'm like, well, what is it?
You can't hike it.
And they were like, and I'm expecting, you know, Valley Girl. I'm expecting, like...
Butterfly.
Right. So I'm expecting something very girly, and they say roach and scabs. And I just was like, whoa, I did not see that coming. They were like, it's gross. We really hate our name and our names. And I was just like, well, then why don't you change it? And they were like, it's stuck already. And I was just like, oh, all right.
Roach and scab.
But they were just like, they were something. But there were also, God, it was reindeer and something else, and there were another two girls that were hiking, and they were just ahead of me, like, the whole time, and I kept reading their journal entries, and they sounded so cool in their journal entries, and I was like, I want to meet these girls. And then when I finally met them, I realized I had met them at trail days, and they were bitches. Like, they were not fun. But yeah, those were, like, there were a couple of other, like, I met a lot of really awesome older solo women. There was an older woman from Minnesota named Journey, and there was an older woman that was a nurse practitioner, I think from Tennessee, and she was awesome. And there was another woman that I met that was section hiking. I met her near Mount Rogers, and she was Slow Barbara. She was the shit. She was another teacher. And she very seriously said to me one day, and she was just like, you know what you need to do if you ever meet another person named Puss in Boots, right? And I was like, well, what? And she said, you have to kill them. And I said, really? And she said, yeah. She said, there's not very many people that take so much pride in being slow the way that I do, so I don't think there's ever going to be another Slow Barbara, but if there is, I'm going to kill him.
In 98, there was a lady who I never met her, and I think she barely made it to North Carolina, not very far into North Carolina before she quit. But I heard the story, and if I tell you the name right now, it gives it away. But she, like, somebody mentioned her name, and I was like, oh, how'd she get that name? Well, it was like really cold, like I was telling you before we recorded, like, you know, it rained a lot, and then it turned freezing cold for days. And so she got really jealous of guys who were just peeing in a bottle. You know, they'd be in the shelter to get up in their should she pee in, they'd pee in the bottle.
Oh no.
And so she had heard from people they're like, how do you guys, she's like, she'd have to get up and pee in the middle of the night. And somebody's like, oh, well, I just pee in a bottle. And I just got a bottle that I pee in. They're like, oh, okay. And so she peed in a Ziploc bag, zipped it up, put it in the corner of her tent, went to sleep, woke up, covered. Because she had rolled over onto it. And So her trail name was Ziploc. The key is put it outside the tent.
Oh no.
Ziploc. Pop. All right, so the ways you can find us on the interwebs. Now you can find us on iTunes, which is pretty sweet. It's our first.
What?
It's our first episode, first full episode since we've been able to be on the iTunes.
Give us some good comments so we don't have to bribe our family members to give them to us.
Exactly, and I haven't had a single family member yet. I think there's one guy on there who I think I know, and I think we've talked just via email, but he drives a truck for a living. And so I think he listens to us in the truck. Mm-hmm. And he really liked the part about me and my girlfriend getting into a fight on the Lincoln Monument.
It's a doozy.
It's a doozy. Episode 2. Check it out. Let's see. There's one on there about a good commute. Mm-hmm. And then somebody else who's like, I've never hiked, but it was very informative and funny. Like, what information did you get from us? Don't follow it. So, yeah.
Don't boil your DivaCup and use it for your tea water.
It's perfectly justifiable.
Sorry.
The cool thing about iTunes...
It's sterile.
The cool thing about iTunes is that we're the first thing that comes up whenever you search for Pox and Puss.
Woohoo!
But we are the second thing that comes up when you search for the Appalachian Trail.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The first thing that comes up is, of course, the Appalachian Trail Backpacker Podcast, which has no picture.
Did I tell you that on my phone, if I Google search Pox and Puss, it automatically corrects to Chicken Pox and Puss? And then it takes you directly to images.
Oh, my God. Chicken Pox and Puss? Puss?
Puss.
Yuck.
That makes sense.
It does. I don't like where your head's at, though, Google.
Oh, God. But, so stay away from images unless you see two people with bags on their heads. That's us.
That's us.
That's us. And that's the funny thing is, like, whenever you go to iTunes and you search Appalachian Trail, it's like the Appalachian Backpacker is one of them that comes up. And then two people with bags on their heads. Of course we get fucking click-throughs on that. But you can also find us on the Twitter at Pox and Puss, where our number one follower is definitely Mr. Bordeaux, Thru-Hiker 2013. Got it right that time.
All right.
Yep. Part of our British contingent with over 40 downloads from the UK.
We're big across the pond.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Step it up, South Carolina in 4th place behind the UK, Virginia, and North Carolina. You can also find us on Instagram, is at Pox and Puss, where we also have some really interesting followers, including one girl who owns a fox.
Straight up fox.
Straight up fox. Pretty cool fox. It actually looks like Kool-Aid, my dog. But like a 15, 20-pound version of it. And we have a very big lesbian following as well.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it's the word puss.
I'm flattered.
Yeah. So is your mom. Let's see. You can also find us on the Facebook by going to Facebook and searching for Pox and Puss.
It's very technical.
Yeah. I think you can also search Appalachian Trail and we're like the 3rd or 4th thing. But again, it's two people with bags on their heads. Huh. It's us. One of us holding a 4 logo.
Don't judge me.
Let's see. All right. And you can also, we had an awesome phone call for this week, but it got cut off.
No.
I know. It was all about weather. It was it was in the middle of Frankenstorm. The guy called. And we'll get back to that call one day. But if you'd like to call and tell us a crazy-ass story that happened to you, you call 828-394-3673. IJAM or 828-394-4526. Another thing I've never mentioned live, always have to put it in at the end, is that our theme music is by a gentleman named, he just wanted me to say music by Beats with a Z. Beats. I don't know if that's like the program he used, but
Vegetable beats or music beats?
Oh, as in BEATZ Beats.
Nice.
Yeah. But I'm sure we'll get around to telling his real name later on. Even actually, I don't even really know his real name. But anyway, thanks for listening. This is going to be a bitch to edit. Have a great. Oh, and LOL, thank you for showing up and hanging out with us and laughing along with us.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Anything to add, Puss?
No, I think I've said enough.
Stay away from the comment section.
Good night, y'all. I have the hugest bush ever.
By the way, we just figured out what's going to be the end of the episode.
I have the hugest bush ever. It's true.
Oh my God.